I really wanted to make this video for you guys because I wanted to look at the facts behind the Boeing company to figure out if it's a realistic possibility here if this company could go bankrupt in the next 12 months. Many investors are convinced here that because of the global issue going on, because of the airline companies struggling around the world, that Boeing as a result will go bankrupt, and even Warren Buffett here sold his shares in airlines. So guys, everything is against this company right now. So guys, in this video, I'm going to leave my opinion out of this. It's going to be pure facts, pure analysis. And I know you guys enjoyed this video, and all you have to do to really show your support is hit that like button down below. And the more likes we get on this, the more content I create like this, because I know you guys enjoy that. This video did take a lot of time to research and create, so I hope you appreciate it. Enjoy. So there's three main aspects that I personally look at when I look at the health of a business over the next, say, 12 months or so. And by looking into this, it also could shape your long-term thesis on the business to figure out if it is a business that you want to hold over the next, say, 3, 5, 10 years or so. But nonetheless, let's put the long-term thesis aside here for Boeing. Let's look at the short-term thesis, and let's really figure out if this company can actually survive the next 12 months. So of course, the first thing, guys, we need to look at is the company's assets and cash. Because remember, without cash, a company cannot survive, cannot pay its obligations, cannot pay to really run the business. So in this case, cash is king. So here's a simple breakdown of Boeing's assets and their cash standing as of March 31st, 2020. The first line of the statement tells us how much cash and short-term investments the company has, which is essentially how much liquid cash they have available right now to spend on anything that they need to. This sums up to around $15.5 billion. Next is receivables, and this is how much other companies owe Boeing, like their customers, for example, over the next 12 months. This amount sums up to $12.7 billion. Underneath that is inventory, and in Boeing's case, for the most part, this is the value of the planes that they have sitting in storage that is ready to be sold. This is also going to be parts and components that they use for their planes that are currently sitting at their factories, ready to be installed into new planes. Now, historically, this number has been around $60 billion or so. However, because of the 737 grounding that the company has been facing, this has ballooned over the last year and a bit and now sits over $80 billion. These are the three main figures for any company that you always want to pay attention to because it gives you a general idea of their cash and assets position for the next 12 months. So yes, Boeing does expect to get rid of $80 billion worth of inventory during the next 12 months. Anyways, adding all of this up along with anything else that they expect to earn in the next 12 months gives us the total current assets value of just over $111 billion. This is important, so remember this figure. Boeing essentially has $111 billion worth of cash and assets to keep them afloat for the next 12 months. Now, this part isn't as important for the 12-month view of the company, but it is definitely important to the overall health of a company, especially for a long-term investor. This breakdown here shows us the long-term assets of Boeing, including their massive factories where they build their planes, long-term investments that they may have, and anything else of value that isn't going to be sold in the near term or easily turned into cash here in the short term, but it still holds some good dollar value. Now, the one thing to note of here is the goodwill and intangible assets section, and typically this is something I want to see as low as possible. What this is, guys, is pretty much things like the value of the brand, the patents, or anything else that you see often with acquisitions. Like if there's an excess value that a company pays for another company, that difference is typically added to the goodwill section. In my opinion, this should really be $0 because it's not really useful money. It's not really money they can tangibly get out. So let's just keep that in mind. And in Boeing's case, this is worth supposedly $11.3 billion. Anyways, the total long-term assets add up to around $32 billion or $20.7 billion if you remove the goodwill. Now, this brings their total assets, which is their current and non-current assets, to around $143 billion or $131.7 billion if we remove the goodwill. So we can see here that Boeing has a ton of value behind it with its cash balance, its investments, its factories, its planes. This company has a lot of assets. Just keep in mind that if the company sold everything that they had, they would have $131.7 billion worth of cash sitting around. Now, this is all fine and dandy, you know, like $131 billion in assets, that's great. But this really means nothing until we compare it to their liabilities, their debts, and all the things that they owe, because that's typically what's going to show you how healthy the business is. So just like their assets, their liabilities are also broken down into current and non-current liabilities. Here we can see Boeing's current liabilities, and this includes things like accounts payable, which is short-term debt that they owe essentially. You also have accrued expenses, which are commitments or things that they've purchased but haven't paid off yet. And then you also have other obligations that Boeing owes within the next 12 months. All of this adds up to $94.5 billion, which is a lot, but remember, their current assets sit at $111 billion, so this is comfortably covered over the next 12 months theoretically. Now finally here we have a screenshot of their longer term obligations and things like their long-term debt, which has ballooned from $10 billion in 2018 to over $33 billion this past quarter, is listed on here. This is all due to the recent debt headlines you've seen around the company, and this was something that the company really needed to do to keep themselves financially sound during this global issue. So in my opinion, it is what it is. Nothing more you can really do here. Now we also see things listed here like pensions that they will pay and other long-term liabilities, which add up to a total of $57.9 billion. Then we take the current and non-current liabilities, add all of that up, and it gives us $152.4 billion worth of liabilities that this company owes in total. So here's where we stand. The total worth of the company assets and cash is around $131.7 billion, and the total liabilities is $152.4 billion. So this means that over the long term, they still have some work to do to either earn even more profits from their products, or they would have to raise even more debt at some point. While that's never a good thing, what we are concerned about here in this video at least is the current situation, the current assets, and the current liabilities. Now the current assets is around $111 billion and the current liabilities is around $94.5 billion. So this gives them a cushion of around $16.5 billion for the next 12 months in case they have other unexpected issues that happen to arise which will cost them. They also have an additional $9.6 billion in credit that they can tap into if required, so that increases their financial stability even more here for the next year. However, even with all this good news, things seem to work out here, the numbers play out, and they have more current assets and liabilities. You may be thinking, okay, this is a safe investment, Boeing's a buy here. And while that may be true, there is one huge caveat that you need to pay attention to and understand if you are investing in Boeing. So remember that $80 billion sitting in inventory? Well, a lot of it is because of the 737 grounding, and while we do expect that to clear in the back half of 2020, this is a huge factor that every Boeing investor needs to understand. If Boeing does not get the certification to sell their 737 in the next 12 months, there is going to be a much more realistic possibility of bankruptcy for this company. You can't just eat up the cost to produce planes and not be able to sell them. Eventually, there's going to be a point where Boeing has no more cash to produce these planes. And while they have a huge inventory of around 450 737s ready to be delivered, if they can't sell this due to certification issues, they are going to be in big trouble. So just for reference, guys, these 737 planes are some of Boeing's most profitable planes ever. So to take that away from the company and say, okay, continue operating, continue making profits, hope you survive, it's not really the best thing here for this business, and it's going to hurt them a ton financially. It's like taking Apple and saying, hey, you can't sell your iPhones anymore for the next couple of years, good luck. Of course, Apple will survive, but their income would be hit drastically because the iPhone, just like the 737, is their core product. Now guys, these planes sell for around $100 to $120 million each, depending on the model, and estimates are that they make around $12 to $15 million per plane. So since they have 450 planes ready to be delivered, this means that Boeing has around $45 to $54 billion in revenue sitting there just from these planes, which equates to around $5.4 to $6.75 billion in profits that they can realize as soon as they're able to deliver these planes. Now remember, these are just the figures of the planes that they already have built, just sitting there collecting dust, waiting to be delivered to their customers. But there has been a lot of questions and concerns about their backlog as well. Guys, here's their breakdown of their backlog as of March 31st, 2020. They have around $438 billion in backlog, and $414 billion of that is contractually obligated. So yes, the $438 billion is down year over year, but really this is not a big deal considering it's going to literally take them years to fulfill these orders. By then, I would suspect that we're well past this global issue, the 737 issues, and other issues the company and industry are facing right now, and this industry will be strong once again. So based on all the pure facts here of the assets, liabilities, cash, all this stuff, for Boeing, Is it possible that Boeing will go bankrupt here in 2020? Well, anything's possible, especially here if the 737 does not get certified in 2020. It's quite likely that this company could be very close or potentially face bankruptcy. However, there is a very high chance that the 737s will get certified here in 2020. They will be able to start delivering that to their customers and realizing profits on those planes. Now, I do realize a lot of their customers are facing tough times right now because global air travel has grinded to a halt in most places. But I do suspect that this will get better over time. And guys, just remember, these airline industries have been through tough times in the past. A lot of them have faced bankruptcy in the past. But Boeing has held strong throughout all the past issues, and they've come out stronger each and every time. And I don't think this time is going to be any different. Now, even though Warren Buffett did sell out of his airline stocks, he did praise Boeing in his shareholder meeting. And really, his bottom line was to never bet against America. And Boeing, being a huge part of America's GDP, is essentially one of the most American businesses you can find. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comment section down below. I do plan to make this kind of video for some other airline companies, which, trust me, if you thought Boeing's financials were bad, those are going to be another level altogether. But if you want to see those videos, let me know in the comment section down below. Drop a like on this video, guys. And really, thank you for watching this through. I know you enjoy this content. It takes me a lot of time to create this content. So as long as there's appreciation for this, I will keep creating this. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to invest positively, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.